I love you, but it's goodbye. Hey, welcome back to Brain Muffin at the Movies. No, Brain Muffin beer reviews. You know, I keep making that joke and it never gets funny. So anyway, so today we have from Saucy Brew Works. Now this is a pack I picked up when I was in Cincinnati a few weeks ago. And it was a little old, which is why it was $3 off. I should have keyed in on that. So I say that because it's not too old, but it's borderline. And that might temper my review. It might temper my thoughts on the beers. We'll see. But this is out of the mixed pack, and this is the Saucy. This is Hazy Imperial IPA. It is 8%. It is the highest one, I believe, because I think the next one's like 7 something, and it's 6. I don't remember what the fourth one is, but there were 4 beers, and I'm going to get to all 4 of them, hopefully. Maybe not tonight, but we'll see. But I thought I'd start with the upper one and then work down. But what I've noticed about these is they are aged. So you can taste and smell the age on them. But they're not overly aged. So that's like I said, they're on that border of, hey, $3 off, probably worth it. But you better either refrigerate them and you need to consume them quickly. They're not going to last much longer. These are not, big hoppy bombs like, a barley wine or a Dogfish Head 120 where you can let it age for 3 or 4 or 6 years. But now, what's interesting about this one, and I've described this in various beer reviews over the years, where beers smell and taste rusty, because I don't have any other word to describe it. This is when I first, I've had these without reviewing, because I went through all 4 of them just to see what they were like. And that's the first thing I noticed, and that's when I looked at the box and went, oh crap. I think it's August of last year, if I remember. I don't want to turn this upside down, and it's hard with the lights and the shiny can. And of course they have them printed like it's an old school dot matrix printer like from the 70s or something, where it's not near letter quality. Which I don't understand. Come on, print these clearly. So I think they're all made in August of 2024, which now being April of 2025 is a little bit pushing it. And I bought them in March. So on the nose, you can tell you have a hazy IPA, right? It's not overly bitter. There's hints of hops, hints of malt, but there's this oddity that shouldn't be there, and that's the haziness. So you might be, how do you smell that on the nose? Well, there's a little too much sweetness, and the hop profile's down. And so this is one that, I previously, it's a 3 out of 5 for me. I know I'm kind of cutting to the chase, but this is one where I want to reserve some points if I ever get it again fresh. And I don't know where the Saucy Brew Works is. Because the thing is this Meyer that I bought this at, it was on, it's not on Coleraine, it's the one on Cleveland, Ohio. I've not heard of them before. We've got Hopping Frog and Great Lakes is another Cleveland. There's I'm missing. I know there's another one I've done beers reviews of. It's been years in Cleveland, but I don't remember Saucy Brew Works. So I don't know if it's new or just happened to be down there in the Cincinnati area. I did not make it to Jungle Gyms on my last trip to Cincinnati, but there is a fruitiness, and I can smell the juiciness of the fruit. It's very odd to describe, but if you think about, like, say you smell an orange and you get an orange that's pretty good, it's pretty ripe, it's decent, we'll say your standard not consumer, what's the word I'm looking at, grocery store orange. and it's not bad. But then you get you go to Florida or California, somewhere where they grow them, and you get one that's really, really fresh. And when you open it, there's this overwhelming sense of and aroma that you only get from that. You can smell the juiciness. Your mouth starts to water just from the smell. That's what I get with hazy IPAs that are made well. And so that's part of why I want to reserve, because, and I just spilled, because it is old. It's borderline, and yet it's still good. So a 3 out of 5 now, I'm betting it's a 4+ if I can get it fresh. But you can definitely smell the haziness. You can definitely taste the haziness. And then there's that lingering rustiness. And again, it's a word that over the years I've used this term. It's almost like an oxidation. And, rust is just, it's ferrous oxide, FeO2, I believe, if I remember correctly. And doesn't matter. I'm not going to sit here and go through the periodic chart and remember if Fe takes 1 electron or 2 electrons. Doesn't matter. But I'm pretty certain it's FeO2. But anyway, that oxidation always tends to remind me of rust. And that's what rust is. It's oxidation of metal, of iron and ferrous oxide. And I know there's chromium oxide and all that other stuff on some tapes that I've used in the past. So in many ways that's just an association, right? It doesn't have rust in it. So don't think that, oh my gosh, the goofball thinks there's rust. No. It is more of a smell of oxidation from rust than I didn't associate with beer. It's very strange. Again, I've talked about it off and on over the years. And I've noticed it even in my own home brews when stuff got the wrong, it's not a bad oxidation, because if you get too much oxygen later in the process, you can get very sour and off flavors and all kinds of stuff. So on the nose there's a fruitiness, mid-mouth there's a fruitiness, and then the lingeringness of it is, this is one of the things that I like about most hazy IPAs, and I don't think this talks about being juicy. Some of them really get your mouth watering. And this one does a little bit. So this is good. It's not great, and my phone is locked up now. I want to check into this one. Even though I already have, I get it. It is juicy, it is hoppy, it is soft. I wouldn't say it's bitter, and I don't think I'm going to see the Meyer come up here now. I'm not going to go search for it. There's too many, and I think that it's Harrison Avenue. And that's an area that, even when I lived there years ago, there's Dent and there's Seven Hills. And I never remember where, and then there's, is it Western? Not Western Hills. Not Seven, yeah, it is Western Hills. Not Seven Hills, that's Cincinnati. Cincinnati and Rome. This goes back why it's Cincinnati and why it's Cincinnatus and all kinds. They saw, it was Revolutionary War soldiers in that area who named it because they saw George Washington as Cincinnati as a modern Cincinnatus, and it's part of, I don't want to go into all that. And there's Seven Hills around Cincinnati, just like Rome is on Seven Hills. It's a whole big old long thing. Go look it up. But it's Western Hills and Dent, and I never remember which is which. I know the mechanic that I used to go to was Dent Auto Services, I think is the name of it. It's been a while. So sometimes I would say Dent and people would be confused because it wasn't. It was actually Western Hills and whatever. And you too far down, you get into, and long before you get to Miami Town, man, what was the name of that area? Anyway, it doesn't matter. But I always got it confused when I lived there, so I'm not surprised that I don't remember. But anyway, 3 out of 5. This is and I imagine when this is fresher, the juiciness is probably turned up to a little bit more, so it's probably a 4 when it fresh. But it's one of those beers that even though the 8% alcohol, you could have this with many different types of food. I don't know if I would do sour. Sour is the only one I'd wonder, maybe, because it does have a sweetness that the sour and sweet might be a little too much. But I really like this concept with more savory meats. I know that's another one that, but you could also do grilled vegetables, corn and carrots and peppers. Yeah, because it has enough lingering sweetness to kind of counterbalance those roasted flavors. So maybe it's more roasted than savory. So maybe barbecued meats and things like that, not necessarily really heavy fat, sausages or something, but maybe, but grilled. And maybe grilled not just with gas or charcoal. Charcoal would be better, forget gas. And maybe some hickory, maybe some oak, smoked in there. Not a lot, right? Not overly done, just little hints of it. And then if you have barbecue, some good vinegary hot sauces. And I'm not a huge fan quite often of vinegary hot sauces, but I think it would balance quite nicely. So that is my review. But and I've got other ones that are coming up from Saucy. But if you know of them, I need to do some research to find out, are they new, not new, just new in the Cincinnati area? Because Jungle Jim's for a long time. I lived 7 to 9 minutes away, and I used to get stuff there all the time. And I loved hitting the various Ohio brewers. And and I've done some of them on this channel. We've done a lot of Great Lakes and some Hopping Frog. The problem with the Hopping Frog stuff is, it would be $13, $9 to $13 for a 22-ounce bomber. And I'd only get one, and I would have it and go, oh, I should have reviewed this, because their stouts are just incredible. And I've done a few, but a lot of it was before I was doing reviews. And then, again, sometimes I just buy beer and I enjoy it, and I don't feel like talking about it on camera, so that's part of the problem. Anyway, thanks for clicking like and sending out on all your social medias. And I don't know how much we're going to do this year. I have found some nice areas down in Johnson City where I can get lots of stuff. And I've also found some different soju from what I reviewed previously from Jungle Jim's it's not Libation Station. It's something package store that's right next door. So I would love to, next time my daughter visits, to go down there and get a bunch of soju and review it with her. It's different brands than what's available. I hadn't seen some of this, and some of them are higher alcohol content than some of the stuff that we got previously. And also look into possibly doing it the more Korean way, where you turn away, especially when you're drinking with somebody that you're not familiar. So with my daughter and I, because I'm older, she would have to turn away. But maybe it's one of those things where I need to explore the traditional side of it a bit more than I have in the past. So thank you very much, and we will see you. Goodbye.